this is my way to sort of guarantee myself a $50,000, $20,000, $50,000, maybe even $100,000 investment could turn into $10 million, or not 10 million, but like a $5 million profit in 20 or 30 years, which is outperforming any market. All right, guys, Rob Ferretti here, and you may remember that P1 that flooded down in Florida, right? Everybody, it was the car seen around the world, and then ended up showing up for auction. The auction results kept ending around 400,000, then they kept relisting it, and I think it finally sold. And rumor has it, Freddie Tavarish may have scored that car. I don't know the details. All I know is if he did, he had to pay more than 400 because they weren't selling it for 400. So let's see how that goes. He actually beat me to this. And this is always something I've had in my back pocket, that I want to have a hypercar. But I don't want to have a hypercar that I have to go spend millions of dollars on, right? Because hypercars, I think, are a tremendous long-term investment. You look at an F40, an F50, 288 GTO. I mean, you name any McLaren F1, Bugatti, any of these cars, just go like this forever. So you have to be able to afford it. You have to be able to afford to maintain it. But you also have the benefit of the time. Now, I'm not really doing this as a car that I'm looking to just flip and make money. I'd like to enjoy it, and then ideally have it and my kids can sell it or whatever, because I don't even sell the cars that I currently have. Now, you're looking at this where here is my plan, and this is something that I'm sort of showing my hand, giving other people a roadmap to do exactly what I'm doing, which is going to cost me money ultimately, but I'm hoping I can scoop one up before somebody figures this out. Now, you're talking Carrera GT, LFA, SLR McLaren. All of these cars work within this scope. And ideally, what I'll do is I'll find a car that is salvaged to the point where nobody wants it. Nothing salvageable. Like, you know, when it burns to the ground and you're like, why is that VIN number selling for 50 grand? I'm going to be that guy, because that flyer, that investment proposition that I'm doing is going to pay off in my head. And this is something where I want to buy a F50, an Enzo, some VIN number, and sit on that VIN number. I'm not going to go build it, because like right now, if you want to go buy, like Ferrari, I was at the factory, and I said, hey, what happens if somebody's got a 250 GTO? And they need a part. Obviously, you don't make them anymore. It's like, we can remake anything. We've got all the molds, all the tooling, everything. So we can make anything. We actually have a classic department that restores, and you can send your whatever crashed Enzo back, and they'll put that thing to factory spec, as if it rolled out of the showroom, give it to you back. And it's not cheap. Obviously, it makes no sense. Like, if the VIN number is devalued now, because to go in with that VIN number to Ferrari and say, I would like to build this, they're going to be like, all right, that's $3.5 million to build it. We got all the parts. We can make you a brand new car and even a new VIN plate, because that VIN plate's damaged. So we'll make you a new VIN plate. With this VIN number, you will have a 2023 Ferrari Enzo, still number 313 out of 399, and they'll do that for you. But it's going to cost you, whatever, $4 million to do it. The car's only worth $2.5 million. Why don't you just go buy one? That's for $2.5, $3 million. Why would you go ahead and spend that money to spend $4 million to build a salvage one? Until you fast forward. Now, this is my play, and that's why I'm able to buy that VIN number for nothing, is because in the future, I see an Enzo, an F50, an F40, all of these cars, the Carrera GTs are going to be $10 million, $20 million. Who knows? Like, there's only so many of them, and they're not going to be making cars like this ever again. So I am placing a bet. It's almost like buying art. And I am betting that if I take that $50,000 flyer, right, buy that VIN number for 50 grand, throw it in my safe, and wait until that car is worth 10 million bucks, 12, 15 million dollars, it's going to cost more at the time to build with Ferrari. It may cost $5 million, right? But I'm going to be able to build for $5,050,000 something that is worth 10 million. So I get a car that I can drive and enjoy, a brand new 2031 Ferrari Enzo that I paid $5,050,000 on, but I'm doing so knowing that when I'm done with it, that car is worth $11 million, 12, whatever it is. So, I mean, it's not a short-term play, right? It's going to take a while for that to work. I got to find the right car, and it doesn't have to necessarily be Ferrari. Ferrari's not the only one getting into the classic restorations, and that's going to beg a question. Would people rather, would you buy a car that is restored and certified by Ferrari versus Jimmy up the street who's got his mechanic shop and he restores cars all day, does the metal work, he does all that stuff, so he does these concourse restorations, but would you rather get it certified by Ferrari? And that's one of those things that Ferrari or Porsche, they've got these departments and like, wow, these guys are spending all this money restoring these cars. Why don't we just do it? Like, that's a car we sold for $600,000. Now I can charge somebody $5 million or $4 million to make the same thing. We got all the stuff right over here. And it still costs them $450,000, probably even less because they've amortized all that stuff to make that car. Maybe the cost of materials went up. Just say it costs them $600,000. They're going to make $3.5 or $4 million selling it to me for $5 million. So that's my long-term play. With the P1, I don't, if it's 500, 600, whatever that car ended up selling for, 450, I don't know, but it's not worth it yet. And it's got a lot of stuff on it with the electronics and everything. I'm worried that you've got two problems with that it's going to be $2 million to fix. Long term, that's great. And if you have a YouTube channel, even better, right? You can build it back, but you have to do it right. You have to go to the factory. So you can't do it in your garage and put it back together because then it's not really going to have that value. And it also is being sold with a certificate of destruction, and that means you can't put that car back on the road. So I'm curious how that ends up playing out. I mean, I'm sure if you send it to Ferrari, if you got the money to go send it to McLaren or Ferrari or whatever to rebuild this thing from scratch, you can probably get the certificate of destruction reversed. Otherwise, you have to go get a donor car or donor chassis like I have and do that. And maybe one day the car's worth $5 million and it costs $4.5 to build, but nobody's got them for sale, and I just sell my VIN number for $250,000. So my $50,000 VIN number multiplies in price by 5x. I may go that route. I may not want to spend the couple $1 million. I may just be like, you know what, I have money to just go buy one. I'll just go buy one versus playing this game. I'm not a hypercar buyer because I don't have the money to buy a hypercar right now, right? Like, I'd rather have 10 $200,000 cars than one $2 million car because I've got a varied garage and I can drive them. But maybe my financial position will change where I'll be like, whatever, it's $2 million, $3 million, I'll just go buy a car. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but this is my way to sort of guarantee myself a $50,000, $20,000, $50,000, maybe even $100,000 investment could turn into $10 million, not $10 million, but like a $5 million profit in 20 or 30 years, which is outperforming any market. Now, that's just like buying art speculatively. I'm doing that with a hypercar because at least when I'm done with that hypercar, I can drive it and enjoy it. That'll be my legacy to my kids that Dad drove an F50 for a couple of years, put 30,000 miles on it because it was brand new, and now we're going to sell it for $7.5 million. So we'll see what happens. Freddie may have beat me to it. I hope if he did, congratulations on scooping up that car. There is a lot of stuff on that car that's going to be useful, but that car scares me a little bit because of the electronic aspect of it, the batteries and everything like that. You're only going to want to get those through McLaren, and right now that's going to be probably a 7-figure check to get that thing back up and running, and that's to go out and spend $1.5 million or $1.8 million to build a car that's worth $1.8 million if you just go buy it. I don't know. It's a tough one. Rob Ferretti, thank you for watching. I just want to give a quick pay my respects to Ken Block. Respect him. I've heard nothing but good things about him. I have not met him personally, but I can say he was a huge influence in our world, and we do have to tip our hat to him. So may you rest in peace, and I will see you guys tomorrow or soon. Thanks for watching.